Chapter 43-42. The crowd dispersed. That person who was pointed out, wasn't he the first person who mentioned that Enchanting had lost his inheritance rights? Eldest miss, what do you want to do? That person's voice was trembling. Yi-Ching Luo hooked her finger, come over. That person subconsciously took a look at Enchanting's direction. Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled, why? Do you need me to invite you over personally? That person realized that Enchanting had no intention to bother about him. He could only clench his teeth as he walked towards Yi-Ching Luo. A paw sound was heard. Yi-Ching Luo raised her hand. The glower flame fan's handle slapped onto that person's face. A deep red mark was imprinted on that person's face. Yi-Ching Luo took out a handkerchief from somewhere and wiped the fan handle bit by bit, as though she had touched some germs. She wiped it slowly and deliberately. Her long and narrow eyes looked at that person with a smile which didn't look like a smile. That person was slapped till he was in a daze, and the fiery pain made him regain his senses. He covered his face fiercely. You. What right do you have to hit me? She specially called him over, just to give him a slap. And he even personally sent his face in front of her? Don't think that I don't know the reason why Enchanting fell, is because you kicked that wooden barrel to his feet. After Yi-Ching Luo finished wiping, she threw the handkerchief casually towards that person's face. I said, Enchanting is the person I want to pick up now. Touching my person in front of me, I feel that you're provoking me. Yi-Ching Luo walked slowly as she took another step towards that person. That person was so frightened that he retreated backwards. His eyes were filled with fear towards Yi-Ching Luo. Eldest Miss Ren should be very clear on how Enchanting's profound energy was crippled. Acting sentimental and righteous here will dirty my eyes. Yi-Ching Luo's smile didn't diminish as the gaze she shot towards Enchanting was filled with ridicule. Enchanting's expression was solemn. You've already ruined my brother and now you want to ruin the Ren family? Yi-Ching Luo shrugged as she looked closely at that person beside her. Following that, she lifted her leg and kicked that person. That man cried out miserably as he was stepped on by Yi-Ching Luo. Yi-Ching Luo was full of mischievousness as she stepped on that person's body and bent down slightly. Almost all the weight was on that person's body. It's not up to you to decide whether Enchanting is qualified to inherit the Ren family. The future of the Ren family is not something you can control. In any case, it's impossible for Miss Ren to inherit the Ren family. Yi-Ching Luo's words seemed to be directed at the person beneath her feet. But everyone could tell. Yi-Ching Luo was saying this for Enchanting to hear. It could be said. Everything that Yi-Ching Luo had done to that person. Actually, they were all mocking Enchanting. That slap was no different from slapping Enchanting. That foot was no different from stepping on Enchanting. Everyone was so shocked by the scene in front of them that they could not close their jaws. None of the people present were fools. Anyone could tell that there was some kind of conspiracy going on in this matter. After all, Enchanting had become useless. The Ren family was without a leader. They definitely couldn't let that 5-year-old child be in charge. In the end, it would still land in the hands of Enchanting, who was still in charge. No matter if Enchanting was really innocent or the mastermind in this matter. As long as it didn't affect their interests. They were too lazy to think deeply about it. It was impossible to say it out in the open. But Yi-Ching Luo had said it. Chapter 43-43. How could eldest young miss of the Gu residence determine that the successor of the Ren family could not be Enchanting? Based on the current situation of the Ren family, there was only Enchanting this choice. Yi-Ching Luo didn't mind what storm and whirlpool her words had stirred up. She turned her head back and looked at the man who was stepping on her feet as her smile became even nastier. Her brows were filled with a teasing smile. Your master doesn't seem to have any intention to save you. Since that's the case, why don't I start with you first? Saying that, she waved the glower flame fan in her fingertips. That man gave a terrified scream as he covered his face and couldn't stop the miserable cries from coming from his mouth. That fan which Yi Qing Luo had slapped on his face earlier. He had used an extremely crafty technique to do so. That scorching pain was even more unbearable than making a few cuts on his face. Between her fingers. That man saw Yi Qing Luo, and that evil smile was magnified in front of him. Suddenly, a ray of silver light flashed past. He saw the young lady's red feather fan drawing out a sharp dagger. The blade shone with a cold glint. She wanted to kill him? That man instantly felt his breathing stagnated. The miserable cries made the surrounding crowd dig their ears as they looked at that man with a mocking gaze. Following that, they smelled an extremely pungent urine smell in the air. It was that man. Frightened by Yi Qing Luo, he urinated on the spot. And when that man was so frightened that he was shivering and his lower body was wet. But there wasn't any pain or death that he had imagined. The moment he opened his eyes. Unknowingly, the young lady was already standing next to the Huangfu family's side. As though she had never come to his side. The gazes of the surrounding people made that person feel extremely ashamed. Yi Qing Luo casually wiped her own hands as her long and narrow eyes glanced towards Ren Jianying's direction as her lips curled, "Tsk. You can't even take fright, so useless." Ren Jianying's hands clenched into fists. Apparently, Yi Qing Luo was intentionally using that man to scold the locust tree, slapping her face through the wall. And, the most important thing was, Yi Qing Luo's actions in public was not only to provoke her, but also to slap her face. He had even stripped her naked in front of everyone. She, the eldest daughter of the Ren family, had also become a joke. At this moment, Ren Jianying finally understood why the black-cloaked man told her not to underestimate this woman. This woman was so arrogant that it seemed as though she had countless trump cards up her sleeves. It was as though she was not afraid of anything. Clearly, he was just a trash without any profound energy. He clearly didn't even have the ability to protect himself. What right did she have to be so arrogant? Ren Jianying suppressed the anger in her chest. She sucked in a deep breath and calmed herself down. Since when has the first miss of the Gu clan been in charge of the matters of our Ren clan? She raised her head with a cold expression. The future successor of the Ren family has nothing to do with the first miss of the Gu estate. I only have one question for you. My younger brother has turned himself into an ordinary person for you. Are you going to accept him or not? Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes raised slightly. No wonder she was able to control the old city's economic lifeline. At such a young age, she was able to become the mastermind behind the scenes in the Ren family, Ren Jianying. In just a few breaths' time. She then adjusted her emotions. Chapter 43-44. Ren Jianying's plan was very good. If she rejected Ren Jianming. In everyone's eyes, she despised Ren Jianming for being a waste and had lost his status as the Ren family's second young master, so she rejected him. Her reputation would be completely ruined under Ren Jianying's conscious leadership. And if she agreed to Ren Jianying's words, Ren Jianying could then express that she would fulfill her brother's true love and let the both of them be together. In the end, it would be a bitter drama. After the Ren family had lost the person who could shoulder the burden, he would naturally become the next head of the Ren family. Yi Qing Luo wanted to clap again. Pfft. She smiled lightly as her lips curled as she laughed disapprovingly. Everyone had been waiting for her answer. Everyone's gazes were gathered on her. The young lady tilted her head as she gave a sarcastic smile. When your brother was still the Ren family's second young master, I had already said that I have no interest in him. In that case, you still want to reject him? Ren Jianying asked. Yi Qing Luo replied, isn't my rejection obvious enough? Ren Jianying laughed as she looked coldly at Ren Jianying. See that, this is the woman you want to choose. She has never thought of being together with you. How much longer are you going to be so silly? Ren Jianming looked at Yi Qing Luo in a daze. What she said earlier replayed in his mind over and over again. Obviously, towards eldest young miss of the Gu residence, he had long known that eldest young miss would not like him and would not accept him. But when he heard eldest young miss say this personally, his heart still felt very upset. It was as if something was squeezing his chest. His throat was blocked up badly. Even when Ren Jianying was talking to him, he didn't hear it. Yiqing Luo suddenly smiled. Her watery eyes were like flowers blooming in spring, breathtaking beyond compare. But, I am a kind-hearted person. Seeing such a pitiful child, I just want to lend a helping hand, to help him. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with tears. Since, I've picked him up and raised him for a few days, and he has yet to repay me for taking him in, how can I return him to you so easily? Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her smile suddenly turned more severe. So, if eldest young Miss Ren wants to bring Ren Jianming back, then you'll have to beg me to let him go first. Ren Jianying's expression instantly congealed as she gritted her teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with an icy cold intent. She raised her head slightly. Her face was filled with her usual arrogance and conceit. First young lady of the Gu residence, the heaven realm does not belong to your Gu residence. I hope that when we meet again in the future, you can still maintain your current arrogance. Then, she looked at Ren Jianming as if she had made up her mind. She enunciated each word clearly. If this is your final choice, I can tell you very clearly that I can't accept it. So, you are the only heir to the Ren family. I will use my own methods to make you return to the Ren family willingly. Ren Jianming's pupils constricted and he clenched his fists tightly. Whatever you want to do, just come at me. No one understood what Ren Jianying meant. How could Ren Jianming not understand? She was merely finding an excuse to deal with him openly. Ren Jianying's gaze swept past Huangfu Sheng and glanced at Yiqing Luo before turning around to leave. She had just walked out of the crowd. Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to her, "Eldest young Miss Ren." Chapter 43-45. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a light smile. Ren Jianming is the only successor of the Ren family, remember what you said. Ren Jianying's tightly clenched fingers tightened a little. Her fingertips started to turn pale. She didn't turn back as she strode away. Yiqing Luo didn't even glance at the direction where Ren Jianying left. She walked straight towards Ren Jianming. Her black and white eyes stared unblinkingly at the man's murky, emotionless eyes. Have you suffered a blow, unable to recover? She opened her mouth, her voice was slightly cold. Ren Jianming's eyelashes fluttered as he slowly shifted his focus onto Yiqing Luo. You've already fallen out with her publicly, do you want to climb back up and take back everything that belongs to you, or do as she wishes, unable to recover from this setback, becoming a waste, living like this? Speaking of this, Yiqing Luo suddenly paused. Her slender fingers pressed her chin as she shook her head, but, even if you want to live like this, I'm afraid. Before you die, you won't be able to find peace. The emotions in Ren Jianming's pupils were like a whirlpool churning. Looking at the man's face, that extremely complicated expression. Yiqing Luo didn't force him any further. Everything needed a period of transition. Especially, kinship. Yiqing Luo understood Ren Jianming's feelings very well. No matter how much he knew that Ren Jianying had done many heinous things, or how many major incidents she had planned behind the scenes. But, he still treated Ren Jianying as his own elder sister. And during this period of time when he was pretending to be a silk pants, Ren Jianying was indeed an irreplaceable elder sister. He even thought that as long as he had no interest in the Ren family's successor position, Ren Jianying would always be his elder sister. Even after knowing that Ren Jianying wanted to annihilate the entire heaven realm, his only thought was to stop Ren Jianying from making mistakes. But in the end, Ren Jianying was still doing it for the Ren family's patriarch position, for the so-called power. She chose to give up on him. No matter who it was, no one would be able to accept this fact. Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and gave his calf a light kick. Enough, don't look so bitter. Go and bandage the injuries on your body, it's so ugly. Ren Jianming was still frozen on the spot, looking at her in a daze. However, his eyes were a little empty. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to give the second kick, Gu Zishi walked over and held onto Yiqing Luo's arm. Let the Huangfu family send him to 100 Medicine House to bandage him up first. Yi Qing Luo retracted her leg, just don't let him die. Gu Zishi poked her and said, I knew you were tough on the outside but soft on the inside. Don't worry, these people were personally picked by Ah Sheng. They are absolutely trustworthy. I naturally trust Ah Sheng's people, but I don't trust the Ren family. Yi Qing Luo glanced at Ren Jianming. You just exposed her ambition in front of everyone. If she wants to protect her reputation, she definitely won't do anything to him at this time. Gu Zishi called a few people over to support Ren Jianming. This was the perfect time to strike. Wouldn't that prove that Ren Jianming's bragging just now was just an act? Ren Jianming. Yi Qing Luo looked at the man whose eyes were still swirling with whirlpools, as she pointed to the restaurant which was not too far away. Settle yourself properly, then look for us at the restaurant. Saying that, she didn't care if Ren Jianming heard what she said. She lifted her leg and directly walked past Ren Jianming, towards that restaurant. Chapter 43-46. The trio asked for a secluded private room in the restaurant and instructed the shopkeeper to bring Ren Jianming to the private room later. Finally they could reminisce about the past in peace. Huang Fuxing asked impatiently, Ah Luo, why did you come to the heaven realm? It had only been a month since they were separated. Yi Qing Luo actually came to the heaven realm from the earth realm? They knew that Yi Qing Luo was a genius and her advancement speed was described as swoosh swoosh swoosh. But wasn't this leap a little too big? Wait a minute. The outside world is spreading rumors that eldest young miss of the Gu residence is a waste without any profound energy, then you. Gu Zishi suddenly thought of something as her eyes widened, as she sized Yi Qing Luo up from head to toe. What method did you use to conceal your profound energy? Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders, stop looking, as for me. I really have no profound energy. What's going on? Huang Fuxing frowned tightly. Yi Qing Luo shook her head, it should be related to that Bone Lord. He sealed the profound energy in my body and I haven't guessed what his motive is. Speaking of Bone Lord. Huang Fuxing's expression turned strange. What's your relationship with Bone Lord? How did you become the eldest miss of the Bone residence? Yi Qing Luo sighed and explained how she came to the heaven realm and inexplicably became the Bone Lord's niece, took charge of the Bone residence and became the eldest miss of the Bone residence. Huang Fuxing and Gu Zishi were dumbstruck as they listened with a face full of disbelief. After being shocked for a long time, Huang Fuxing frowned and said, the time I spent in the heaven realm is too short and I have not seen Bone Lord's appearance. But I have heard a lot of rumors about Bone Lord. His identity is very mysterious and his ability is unfathomable. The entire heaven realm almost treat him as a legend. Even grandfather isn't sure when Bone Lord existed. No one knows who Bone Lord is and why he is in the heaven realm. They only know that, even the four great heavenly families, even the royal family, don't dare to disrespect the Bone residence. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips and suddenly recalled what Ren Jianming said before. She suddenly raised her head, I want to see old Master Ren. Grandfather will be very happy to know that you're here. Huang Fuxing nodded. Grandfather has asked me to represent the Huangfu clan in the upcoming honor list. He will arrive at the old city in about 2 days. Wind Cloud ranking list. It was about to begin. This also meant that the war that Ren Jianming had mentioned before, which was to destroy the heaven realm, was about to begin. Previously, she was still skeptical about it. Furthermore, there was nothing in the heaven realm that was worth her nostalgia. But, after seeing Ren Jianming today, she could be sure that what Ren Jianming said was absolutely true. That was because no matter how Jianming tried to cover it up, she was still tainted with a dark aura after having sex with someone from the Palace of Gloomy Shadows. On the modeled ambiguous marks on Ren Jianming's body, there was a lingering dark aura. Furthermore, Huang Fuxing had now stabilized his position in the heaven realm. She couldn't let the Dark Palace destroy the heaven realm just like that. In the heaven realm, her words did not have much authority. She had to discuss this matter with old Master Ren. Oh yes. Ah Luo, why are you the only one who came to the heaven realm? Didn't the Overlord follow? Gu Zishi looked at Yi Qing Luo's expression and asked cautiously. She seemed to be worried that her words would make Yi Qing Luo unhappy. Chapter 43-47. At the mention of Dmo Xian, Yi Qing Luo's expression revealed a sense of loss. Her eyes were filled with longing for the man. They had been separated for such a long time. She really missed him. She was kidnapped by the barbaric blood-bone king to the heaven realm. Would he know that she was in the heaven realm? In fact, she had been acting in a high-profile manner in the earth realm recently, so that everyone in the heaven realm would think of her whenever the Gu residence was mentioned. It was to spread to the ears of Dmo Xian spies in the heaven realm. She was waiting for Dmo Xian to find her. The Overlord is so powerful, he will definitely find you soon. Gu Zishi saw Yi Qing Luo's depressed mood and quickly comforted her. She sat by Yi Qing Luo's side and stretched out her hand to hold her hand. The Overlord's forces are spread across every corner of the upper realm. In a few days' time, it will be the profile list, and as the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, you will definitely have to make an appearance. By then, Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell onto the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. She curled her lips and caressed the profound phoenix ring. I believe him. Oh yes, Luo. Huangfu Xing changed the topic. What's going on between you and that Ren family's second young master? Gu Zishi replied, yes, the entire old city is talking about you and second young master Ren. I even heard that. Second young master Ren announced that you are his fiancé. After all, the main characters of this rumor were the future successor of one of the four great heavenly families and the eldest miss of the Gu residence. Based on these two people's identities, it would set off a storm in the heaven realm. Naturally, it would attract the attention of all the major forces. If the two families were really connected by marriage, Ren family and Gu residence's power would definitely be above the other three heavenly families and even the royal family. Therefore, Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi, who came to the old city to represent the Huangfu family, had naturally heard of the rumors and speculations about Ren Jianming and Gu residence's eldest Mississippi. That fellow Ren Jianming is just using me as a shield. Yi Qing Luo pouted her lips. Didn't Gong Xia Zhu announce that Ren Jianming is her husband? Shield? A gossipy smile appeared in Gu Zishi's eyes. You mean second young master Ren doesn't like you at all? Did he purposely use your name to sever ties with his elder sister? At this point, Gu Zishi's lips curled into a wicked smile. Don't tell me, that first young miss of the Ren family wants to engage in forbidden, incestuous, relations with the Ren family's second young master. Stop. Yi Qing Luo gave Gu Zishi's head a slap. Stop guessing blindly. As for the exact reason, I'll tell you all when old Master Huangfu is here. Gu Zishi was in pain. She covered her head and leaned into Huangfu Sheng's arms. You're still so mysterious, and you're still so ruthless to me. Then, he looked up at Huangfu Sheng and complained, Ah Sheng, Luo hit me. Huangfu Sheng couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Gu Zishi with doting eyes and raised his hand to gently press her forehead. His voice was very gentle. It won't hurt if I rub it. When I have the chance, I will help you take revenge. Yi Qing Luo, if a gaze could kill someone. She wanted to use her gaze to kill the both of them. She grabbed the wooden chopsticks and started to face the dishes on the table. She obviously knew how much she missed Ah Xian, but still purposely showed off their affection to provoke her. Chapter 43-48. Was it a big deal to show off their love? Wait until Ah Xian found her. She wanted to let the two of them have a taste of different kinds of dog food. On the top of the towering mountain peak, the crescent moon that was like a curved hook hung in the sky. The clear and bright light seemed to coat everything in the surroundings with a layer of coldness. Cold mist lingered around the mountain peak, spreading in the air of China. The howling wind kept blowing everything around it. A tall and slender figure stood on the edge of the mountain peak. The strong wind blew on his body. That figure was swaying, as if he would fall off the cliff at any time. Behind him, a fairy-like woman in a long white dress slowly walked over. Are you still worried? The man heard the figure, but did not turn back. The strong wind blew his long hair. His robe was also fluttering in the wind. That peerless face was filled with a chilling coldness. The boy from the D family. The woman was used to the man's attitude, sighed softly. That girl is more tenacious than anyone else. She will be fine. She loves you as deeply as you love her. So smart, so strong, so in love with you, she will never let anything happen to her before you find her. Perhaps it was the mention of the word she. The man finally had some reaction, his eyelashes moved slightly, and the expression on his face became even colder. The woman walked to his side, raised her head, and looked at the gloomy man. The forces of the imperial palace in various places are searching for a trace. I think there will be news soon. Baisu, if you have something to say, just say it. The man interrupted her with a cold expression. The woman curled her lips with a bored face. Really boring, nothing can be hidden from you. Can't I just simply comfort you? Anyway, we have known each other for a long time, friends. These two people were Baisu and Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian glanced at her indifferently. I am not in the mood to joke with you. Baisu put her palms together and said, Fine, fine, fine. I know you're worried about that girl and in a bad mood. I'll just say it. She raised her head and stared fixedly at Dmo Xian. Bai Mei escaped from the Heavenly Law dungeon and the annals have been tracking her whereabouts. You know about this, right? Dmo Xian's eyes sunk slightly as he pulled his thin lips into a smile which didn't look like a smile. In the Earth realm, bringing someone to impersonate this lord and plotted to frame little Luo, then leading little Luo, to the Linglong Palace. If it wasn't for her, little Luo, would not have been targeted by the barbaric Blood-Bone King. His little Luo heir would never leave his side. He knew that the barbaric Blood-Bone King would not harm Lil Luo heir for the time being. However, he could not help but worry. Hearing this, Baisu looked away guiltily. She coughed softly. You should also know that she's running around outside. It's easy for her to cause you more trouble. So, go and capture her and bring her back to the Heavenly Dao prison. Ha! Dmo Xian snorted lightly as his thin lips curled into an arc with some ridicule. Do you think that by placing her in the Heavenly Law dungeon, she'll be safe? A trace of embarrassment flashed past Baisu's beautiful eyes. The plan in her heart had been guessed by Dmo Xian. Talking to this kind of person. He really didn't leave her any space to speak or retreat. If you let this lord capture her, this lord may not be able to control himself and kill her. Dmo Xian sneered. Chapter 43-49 /mobile reading /mobile reading Chapter 43-41 I only want little Luo, to be safe and sound. She sighed and suddenly raised her head. She looked at the expression on the man's face, which seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. She was a little helpless and dejected. There's nothing I can do. Bai Mei doesn't even want to acknowledge me as her sister anymore. She's been holding a grudge against me all this time. Only you can attract her attention. Baisu's expression became more solemn. Dmo Xian, I've never asked you for anything. This time, I'm begging you, okay? I just want my only sister to be able to live. Dmo Xian's eyes flickered and fell on Baisu. Looking at Baisu's serious face, the coldness on his body dissipated a little. I only want my little Luo, to be safe and sound. This is the last time. If Bai Mei returns to the Heavenly Law dungeon, I promise you that I will not give her another chance. Baisu's eyes were filled with sincerity. Dmo Xian remained silent. Baisu seized the opportunity to say, I received news that Bai Mei is now in the Heaven Realm. Aren't you also investigating the person behind the Palace of Darkness? Bai Mei has already joined the Palace of Darkness. Her being in the Heaven Realm means that the power of the Palace of Darkness has already infiltrated the Heaven Realm. As she spoke, she paid attention to Dmo Xian's expression. Seeing that he did not have any other reaction, she continued, in the Heaven Realm, the honor list is about to begin. I'm worried that Bai Mei and the Palace of Gloomy Darkness will tamper with the honor list. Seeing that Dmo Xian was still expressionless, he did not intend to bother with her. Baisu decided to make a big move. You've almost turned the whole earthly realm upside down, but you still couldn't find the girl's whereabouts. Maybe she has been taken to the heaven realm by the barbaric blood-bone king? Go to the heaven realm and look for that girl's whereabouts. Also, help me bring Bai Mei back. How about it? The man finally turned his head slightly, his cold and thin eyes lightly fell on her body. Baisu was delighted. Indeed, only Yi Qing Luo's name could make the overlord react. Heaven Realm, Restaurant. As Yi Qing Luo was eating, she was chatting with Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi. At the same time, he also understood what was going on in the Huangfu family. It turned out that when the two of them first arrived at the Huangfu clan, not only were they not welcomed, but the entire Huangfu clan even requested the old man to send them away. Furthermore, when they were verifying whether he was a descendant of the Huangfu clan, they even tampered with him and forced him to admit that he was a fake. Fortunately, Old Master Huangfu absolutely believed in Huangfu Sheng's identity. He single-handedly stopped the entire Huangfu clan from opposing him and forced them to accept his existence. Later, Huangfu Sheng found out the reason why everyone in the Huangfu family disliked her. That was because the young master and young mistress of the Huangfu clan had spread the news of his ambition everywhere and portrayed him as a scheming person who would deceive the old master. Naturally, everyone objected to his existence. Old Master Huangfu was willing to go this far for him. How could he disappoint the old man? Hence, the fourth miss of Huangfu clan, Huang Fengyan, framed him once. He fought back with his own ability and stood up when Huang Fengyan almost destroyed a branch of the Huangfu clan because of her framing. He risked his life to save the branch. From then on, everyone changed their opinion of him. There will be an update today. See you tonight. Asterisk Small Theater, The Overlord. Where's the scene where the Overlord is going to appear? I've even become the background. ZOMO, if there are no tickets, there will be no Overlord. The Overlord, sneer, do you want to die? ZOMO, I only want tickets. Kill me if you have the ability. Kill me and you will be separated from your little Luo, forever. The Overlord. What a ruthless man. ZOMO, why don't you use a honey trap and ask for tickets? If there are enough tickets, you can exchange them for your appearance ticket. The Overlord takes out his weapon. Hurry. Hurry. Throw. Tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 4350. Mobile reading. And with his and Gu Zishi's hard work. In the short span of a month. The two of them, from being opposed by everyone, to now, they were able to have a place in the Huangfu family and even the Heaven Realm. Almost the entire Heaven Realm knew about it. The Huangfu clan had one more person, Huangfu Sheng, who Old Master Huangfu doted on the most and was extremely powerful. This time, Huangfu Sheng had brought Gu Zishi along as the representative of the Huangfu family to participate in the honor list. He was laying the foundation for his future. As long as the Huangfu clan was able to obtain a dazzling result on the reputation list, Huangfu Sheng's position in the Huangfu clan was basically unshakable. Very good, well done. Yi Qing Luo put down her chopsticks and looked at Huangfu Sheng with approval. In the future in the Heaven Realm, I will rely on you to cover me. As he was speaking, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the room. Immediately after, a hurried knock sounded on the door. Come in. Huangfu Sheng stopped smiling and said indifferently. The door was opened, and the waiter hurriedly walked in while panting heavily. Oh no. Young Master Huangfu, Missy, Second Young Master Ren. Second Young Master Ren is blocked at the door, Ren Jianming? Yi Qing Luo's expression turned cold as she suddenly stood up. What's the matter? Just now. Second Young Master Ren came to look for First Young Mistress. I followed First Young Mistress instructions and brought Second Young Master Ren here, but unexpectedly, we met Princess Xia Zhu. Gong Shizhu? It was her again. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk. Go out and take a look. First floor lobby. At this moment, it was already a mess. The dining table and chairs fell to the ground. There were also various kinds of oil and vegetable soup on the ground. All kinds of bowls and chopsticks were shattered on the ground. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept the surroundings and finally fell onto the entrance of the restaurant. Ren Jianming squatted on the ground in embarrassment. The white cloth wrapped around his body was also stained with blood because of the several pushes. Around him, there were 6 women dressed in servant attire. Standing in front of Ren Jianming and looking down at him was Gong Xiazhu, who was dressed in luxurious clothes and had exquisite makeup. He could tell. Just now, there had been quite a big dispute here. Many people gathered around the restaurant to watch the show. They pointed at him, and their words were filled with laughter and ridicule. However, Gong Xiazhu did not care about the opinions of the people around her. In her eyes, Ren Jianming was the only person she could see. "Brother Ming, follow me back to the palace. I'm the only one who can restore you to your previous status and identity. Only I can pull you back to your glorious days." Gong Xiazhu looked straight at Ren Jianming and said word by word, "As long as you are with me, no one will dare to touch you. Even if it's the Ren family, I will definitely protect you." The passionate confession was still unable to warm the man's heart. Ren Jianming's face was ashen. He wanted to stand up. But the other maids immediately took a step forward. He forcefully pressed him to the ground. Gong Xiazhu slowly squatted down by Ren Jianming's side as her eyes gazed at Ren Jianming's face in a daze. "Brother Ming, for such a long time, don't tell me you're still not clear about my feelings towards you?" She stretched out her hand, wanting to caress Ren Jianming's face. "I don't mind that you're unable to cultivate. I will use my actions to prove that I like you. Absolutely not because of your cultivation innate talent or your family background. What I like is you as a person." Her fingers were just about to caress the man's face. But the man immediately turned his head, avoiding her outstretched hand. This book came from Chapter 4351. Mobile reading. Gong Xiazhu's hand froze in midair. Her face darkened slightly, but she was still patient and continued, "Brother Ming, everything I said came from the bottom of my heart. Follow me back to the palace, okay?" As she spoke, her hand slid down to his waist. Then, she slowly placed her hand on his palm. "Princess Xiazhu, please behave yourself." Ren Jianming's body stiffened and he flung Gong Xiazhu's hand away. As soon as he moved, the 6 maids around him squeezed forward and pressed down on Ren Jianming's hands, preventing him from moving. Gong Xiazhu held Ren Jianming's face as she wished. Her lips curled into a sweet smile. "Brother Ming, only I love you the most. Are you still hoping that the first young mistress of the Gu clan will save you?" "No, she won't save you." She slowly leaned her head against his chest. No matter how Ren Jianming struggled, the 6 maids were like boulders, not moving at all. Gong Xiazhu put her head on his chest and said with a smile on her face, "When you were the second young master of the Ren clan, she looked down on you. Now that you have become a good-for-nothing, she looks down on you even more." Gong Xiazhu. Ren Jianming's body tensed up, and his face was filled with disgust towards Gong Xiazhu. "It's none of your business whether the first miss likes me or not. I don't like you. I don't like a lunatic like you. Yeah, I'm crazy." Gong Xiazhu chuckled softly, and a treacherous cold light flickered between her brows. "You have already become like this, but I still like you. I like you hopelessly. I must be crazy to like you so much." As she spoke, her laughter became more and more frantic. In the end, it turned into laughter. She lay on Ren Jianming's chest and raised her head, her eyes intertwined with his. She smiled brilliantly. "Brother Ming, the current you can't escape." "Princess Xiazhu." Ren Jianming's body stiffened. He stared at Gong Xiazhu's crazed expression and softened his tone. "A forceful melon won't be sweet. Princess Xiazhu, you deserve someone better. To me, you're the best person." Gong Xiazhu's eyes were filled with unconcealable affection for him. "Feelings can be cultivated. I like you so much. One day, you will be touched by me." She seemed to have thought of something and laughed softly. She lifted Ren Jianming's chin with one hand. At the same time, she slowly moved her lips towards Ren Jianming's. I've already prepared a courtyard for you in the princess mansion. You'll definitely like it there, and you'll definitely like me. His lips slowly approached. The infatuation in his eyes was even more obvious. Ren Jianming wanted to avoid it. However, the servant behind him held him down tightly and forced him to accept Gong Xiaozhu's kiss. The scent of a woman was getting closer and closer. Ren Jianming's body tensed up, and the arc of his struggle became even more pronounced. Just as their lips were about to touch.
Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past. Gong Xiaozhu felt a cold light flash before her eyes. There was no time to evade. He suddenly felt a sharp pain on his cheek. Her body was also thrown to the ground by the hurricane. Thud. A red feather fan that looked like a raging flame fell beside Ren Jianming's feet. Gong Xiaozhu recognized that feather fan at first glance. Her expression immediately became ferocious and twisted. The eldest miss of the Gu mansion. Oh, the dignified princess is actually kidnapping a man and forcing a woman to be a prostitute. The girl's frivolous voice revealed a bit of laziness. This book came from
Chapter 43-52. Cell phone reading. After hearing this voice, Ren Jianming's body suddenly trembled slightly. Raising his eyes again, his pupils reflected the second floor. That alluring young lady with her pink lips curled into a teasing arc. His face instantly felt as though it was scorched by fire. His heart suddenly tightened. As though something was strangling him fiercely. It was extremely difficult to breathe. Not willing. His unbearable side was revealed in front of Yiqing Luo. Not willing, when he was in such a sorry state, it was Yiqing Luo who stopped him. Does Princess Xiaozhu lack a man's love? Yiqing Luo lifted her red dress as she flipped over the railing on the second floor. It shocked Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zixi who were behind her, as they broke out in cold sweat. Luo had no profound energy now. Jumping down from the second floor, she would definitely be injured. Gu Zixi hurriedly flew downwards, trying to catch Yiqing Luo. But she saw the young lady's nimble figure, as she landed steadily on the ground. Breathing, without the slightest bit of panting. Yiqing Luo curled her lips at Gu Zixi, indicating that she was fine. What a joke. Even if she lost her profound energy, her own power was still there. Just the height of a 2-story building. She was more than enough. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence. Gong Xiaozhu stared fiercely at this lady who had disturbed her, as the accumulated anger from the new and old hatred surged in her chest. She stood up and blocked in front of Ren Jianming. This princess has always admired Brother Ming. He is my future prince consort. Prince consort? Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. I didn't see him agreeing to be your prince consort. Gong Xiaozhu clenched her fists tightly. He will agree. So, you're forcing a good woman to be a prostitute. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, as her long and narrow eyes curved. How much does Princess Xiaozhu lack love? And no one wants her. That's why she would forcefully snatch a man to be her prince consort on the streets. She touched her chin, as she smiled and asked softly, could it be? Princess Xiaozhu actually has some hidden illness? Eldest young miss. Gong Xiaozhu gritted her teeth and glared at her. Her tone was full of threat. No matter what you say, I must take Brother Ming away. Since you've already rejected Brother Ming and aren't willing to accept him, why don't you return him to me? Still? Yiqing Luo was all smiles as she raised up a finger and shook it. Princess Xiaozhu has used the wrong words. Ren Jianming had never belonged to you, so how could you say he is still yours? Gong Xiaozhu's face turned red. Without saying a word, he bent down and helped Ren Jianming up. Let's go. Princess Xiaozhu, did I say that you can leave? Yiqing Luo crossed her arms around her chest as she strolled around in a mischievous manner. She walked to the entrance of the restaurant and blocked their path. Gong Xiaozhu opened her arms and stood in front of Ren Jianming. What right do you have to stop me? Yi Qing Luo shot a glance at the man behind her. He still owes me a few favors. How is it possible for him to leave now? Whatever he owes, this princess will return it. Gong Xiaozhu replied without any hesitation. Whatever you want, this princess can give it to you. TSK. It's so touching. Yi Qing Luo's smile widened. Unfortunately, you don't have anything that I want, so you can only return him to me. She intentionally emphasized the word return, as though she was ridiculing something. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned green and then white, as her venomous gaze seemed as though it was dipped in poison. Her facial features were already out of control, as it turned sinister and terrifying. This book came from Chapter 43-53. In 1 second, there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Yi Qing Luo's tone suddenly turned cold. That pair of narrow smiling eyes were filled with a biting cold intent. A pair of long and narrow eyes with a smile, at this moment, was also bitingly cold. Gong Xiaozhu was so shocked that her heart jumped. This princess will absolutely not let go. Gong Xiaozhu was so shocked that her heart skipped a beat. I will never let him go. Her eyes were burning and filled with insanity. This violent knock was extremely strong, causing Yi Qing Luo's arm to feel sore and numb. This ferocious collision was extremely powerful, causing Yi Qing Luo's arm to feel a little sore and numb. He struggled, trying to break free from the restraints of the maids. But the duo's strength was so great that he couldn't break free at all. His eyes were scarlet red and his eyes were filled with anger. Gong Xiaozhu. Whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. Whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. You can't even protect yourself and you're still trying to show off. Yi Qing Luo glanced at him. So? Second young master Ren is planning to go to the princess residence to be the prince consort. I'm worried about you. Ren Jianming pursed his lips tightly as his tone was tense. Yi Qing Luo lifted her eyelids lazily as her brows were filled with laziness. Just worry about yourself. Ren Jianming's heart felt as though it had been shot by a bullet as it was extremely painful. He had never felt that there was anything good about his innate talent or cultivation genius. He had never felt that his profound grade was high or that his ability was strong. But at this very moment, he hated himself for being unable to protect Yi Qing Luo. Ren Jianming clenched his fists tightly as his gaze turned towards Gong Xiaozhu. Gong Xiaozhu, don't implicate innocent people because of your ridiculous possessiveness. The scene of the two conversing as though nothing had happened. Then she heard Ren Jianming's stern berating. Gong Xiaozhu seemed to have been agitated as she slowly and stiffly raised her head towards Ren Jianming. His slightly ferocious face was filled with ruthlessness. You're protecting her? Brother Ming, you're protecting her. She suddenly laughed and suddenly stretched out both hands to grab Yi Qing Luo's arm. Brother Ming is mine. He can only be mine. Don't think that we don't dare to touch you, Gu residence. Ha! After grabbing Yi Qing Luo's arm, a burst of profound waves surged out from Gong Xiaozhu's palm. The rampaging profound waves coiled around Yi Qing Luo's arm. Gong Xiaozhu's eyes were filled with madness. I'd like to see if a good-for-nothing can still seduce Brother Ming after losing an arm. Each wave of profound light was stronger than the last. As though it was about to explode in Yi Qing Luo's hands. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Could it be that Princess Xiaozhu had gone mad from love? She wanted to use profound energy to destroy eldest Mrs. Hand? This would incite a conflict between the Gu residents and the imperial family. For the sake of the second young master of the Ren clan, Princess Xiaozhu was willing to disregard the reputation of the royal family? However, everyone was shocked. However, no one took the initiative to mention this matter. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. The two dragon heads of the Gu residence and the imperial family clashed. They would be the only ones who would benefit. However, The person involved in this matter looked very relaxed at this moment, and there was not a hint of panic on his face. The corners of her mouth were still curled up in a cold arc that seemed to be a smile yet not a smile. As though she was ridiculing Gong Xiaozhu's stupidity. Under that pair of enchanting eyes' gaze, Gong Xiaozhu actually felt an enormous pressure, pressuring her so much that she couldn't breathe. That slut had already lost her profound energy. She must be intentionally pretending to be calm. She couldn't escape from her attack. Gong Xiaozhu kept on placating herself in her heart. The profound waves on the hands which were clasped on Yiqing Luo's wrist became even more intense. Chapter 43-54. In a second, there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. The air vibrated as the profound wave was like a ripple as it rippled in the surroundings. Gong Xiaozhu's body was violently sent flying. Even the surrounding maids were jolted away by an invisible airwave. Whoever dares to touch Ah Luo, Huang Fuxing will absolutely not let them off. Huang Fuxing's sleeves moved slightly as the profound wave was emitted from his entire body. That pair of dark golden eyes were sparkling with a strange radiance. As he was saying that, he walked towards Yiqing Luo. Gong Xiaozhu finally managed to stand up with the help of the maids. Hearing Huang Fuxing's words, her expression turned chilly. Young Master Huangfu, what do you mean by this? Taking action against this princess, is the Huangfu family trying to go against the royal family? Huang Fuxing straightened his back as his expression was dignified and solemn. I'm merely seeing injustice on the road. He paused slightly and continued. Princess Xiaozhu snatched someone on the streets and the person was a man. Based on what Princess Xiaozhu said, my helping her is representing the Huangfu family's attitude. Then, Princess Xiaozhu's action of snatching a man on the streets is representing the royal family's attitude, right? Gong Xiaozhu's face turned pale as her fingers clenched tightly. He is my prince's son-in-law. This princess is looking for a son-in-law to return to the palace. It has nothing to do with you. So the royal princess has already fallen to the extent where she needs to randomly pull a man on the streets and acknowledge him as her son-in-law. Huang Fuxing sneered, this kind of strange news. Looks like I have to enter the palace and ask the emperor personally if this kind of action is permitted by him. Gong Xiaozhu's expression sunk. You. She opened her mouth but had no way to refute. Looking at Huang Fuxing's ridiculing expression, and looking at Yiqing Luo's face, the cold arc which seemed like a smile yet not a smile. Her pupils contracted as the glint became extremely sinister. Young Master Huangfu's stance is indicating your own attitude, right? Huang Fuxing looked at her indifferently. What does Princess Xiaozhu mean? You've come to the ancient city to represent the Huangfu clan. Are you certain that the Huangfu clan will allow you to offend the royal family for the young lady of the Gu clan? She laughed coldly. Everyone in the old city knows that Bone Lord has never officially acknowledged her existence. From the beginning to the end, it was only the housekeeper of the Bone residence, Gu Yun, who said that she was the first young lady of the Gu residence. No one knows the truth. At this point, Gong Xiaozhu seemed to finally have some confidence. She raised her chin and said, are you going to take such a big risk to go against me? Huang Fuxing was about to speak. Yiqing Luo pulled his arm. There's someone behind her. Just now, when Gong Xiaozhu was flustered and exasperated, she said, do you think we don't dare to touch you? He said, we, not I. In addition, Gong Xiaozhu was obviously very confident now. He had been forcing Huang Fuxing to admit that he was representing the Huangfu family to support Yiqing Luo and go against the royal family. Yiqing Luo could roughly guess the cause and effect. Huang Fuxing glanced sideways as he smiled lightly at the hand which was placed on his arm. His thin lips curled up as he gave a gentle smile. I know, but now that I have the ability to help you, I will definitely help you. He held Gu Zixi hand tightly as the both of them smiled at each other. Zixi and I will stand on your side, no matter how steep the road ahead is. She could hear the sincerity in Huang Fuxing's tone. Yi Qing Luo's eyes softened. You guys. If you're not afraid of trouble, then I won't stop you. Chapter 43-55. Come and question. Huangfu Xing also smiled. Don't underestimate my efforts in the heaven realm this month. After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Gong Xiazhu and said, Princess Xiazhu, I, Huangfu Sheng, will definitely interfere in today's matter regardless of personal reasons. Gong Xiazhu's face twisted. Young Master Huangfu is really unyielding. I want to see how you're going to interfere in my matters. She took a step back. Then, two figures descended from the sky and stood in front of Gong Xiazhu. Pei Sheng. What right do you have to represent the Huangfu family and clash with the royal family? A man dressed in brocade clothes questioned. Don't think that you can joke around with the Huangfu family's reputation just because you are loved by Grandpa. Beside him stood a beautiful and exquisite woman. She sneered and added, people from the lower realms will always be from the lower realms. You don't even know how to consider the big picture. I don't know why Grandpa asked you to return to the Huangfu family. After a pause, the woman continued with a disdainful look. I told you long ago that it was a wrong decision to let you represent the Huangfu family. The ranking hasn't even started and you've already made such a big mess. Let's see how you explain to Grandpa when he comes. It's eldest young Master Huangfu and fourth Miss Huangfu. They came to the old city too. From what they said, it seems like they are very dissatisfied with the new young master of the Huangfu family. Haven't you heard? That young Master Huangfu is the cousin young master that old Master Huangfu brought back from the Earth Realm. Earth Realm? Why would the young master of the Huangfu family be in a place like the Earth Realm? Why do you care so much about the big family's matters? We're going to have a good show to watch. Everyone's attention was attracted by the appearance of the two famous young master and young miss of the Huangfu family. They couldn't help but discuss the gossip in front of them. The discussions around him didn't affect Huangfu Xing at all. His expression didn't change at all. His gaze was calm as it landed on the two people in front of him. He scoffed. Didn't Grandpa ask you two to reflect on your mistakes in the courtyard? Why did you sneak out? Aren't you afraid that Grandfather will blame you? These two people were the eldest young master of the Huangfu clan, Huangfu Dongyu, and the fourth young miss, Huangfu Fengyan. You! Both of their faces stiffened. Huangfu Fengyan's body stiffened, but she sneered and looked at Huangfu Xing coldly. Whether Grandfather will blame us is none of your business. Oh. Huangfu Xing let out a smile. Then I won't trouble you two with what I'm doing now. It's none of your business. Huangfu Fengyan sneered as she shot a glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, as her eyes were filled with an unconcealable chilliness. What you're doing now concerns the entire Huangfu family. Huangfu Dongyu slowly walked forward with a dignified gaze. Pei Sheng, apologize to Princess Xia Zhu immediately. Also, guarantee that you will no longer interfere with anything related to the Gu residence. In your dreams. Huangfu Xing spat out two words without hesitation. Since you want to put the Huangfu clan in an unjust position, don't blame me for doing what I have to in order to protect the Huangfu clan. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have predicted Huangfu Xing's reply as he waved his hand. Instantly, numerous white-dressed Huangfu secret guards rushed in from outside the crowd. So shocked that everyone in the restaurant ran out of the restaurant as they stuck to the entrance of the restaurant to watch. Huangfu Xing took a step back. 10 over Huangfu's secret guards who were also dressed in white stood in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-56. Remember in 1 second, love still small say net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. There were more than 30 people on the other side. On Huangfu Xing's side, there were only a dozen people. Moreover, Huangfu Dongyu was obviously on the same side as Gong Xiazhu. If they really fought, Huangfu Xing and the Gu residents had no chance of victory at all. Huangfu Xing's back was still ramrod straight. He placed his hands behind his back and looked expressionlessly at the dark team guards in front of him. Don't forget, it was grandfather who asked me to represent the Huangfu family to handle all matters related to the ranking list. Grandfather was deceived by you. Huangfu Fengyan snorted coldly, her eyes filled with disdain. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have thought of something as the corner of his mouth raised into a mocking sneer. Pei Sheng, let me tell you, the current patriarch of the Huangfu clan is my father. Huangfu Sheng's face froze. He could not refute this statement. After all, Huangfu Zhentian had already given all the authority to his son. Huangfu Zhentian had brought him and Gu Zishi back to the Huangfu clan and made him the representative of the Huangfu clan to participate in the honor list this time. The Huangfu clan had already given Huangfu Zhentian the most respect. If Huangfu Zhentian still insisted on interfering, it would be too much. It would only cause the current patriarch, Huangfu Dongyu's father, to misunderstand. In fact, he had heard such rumors in the Huangfu clan many times. Amidst this chaotic and solemn atmosphere, young Master Huangfu is right. The current patriarch of the Huangfu family is young Master Huangfu's father. The girl's voice sounded leisurely and carelessly. He put a hand on Huangfu Sheng's shoulder and pushed him to the side. Huangfu Sheng was stunned for a moment before he moved his body along with the girl's force. Yiqing Luo leisurely walked past Huangfu Sheng and walked to the front. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, a languid expression on her face. That is to say, young Master Huangfu's every word and action represents the current patriarch of the Huangfu family, right? Huangfu Dongyu's heart tightened. The minute Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, it would absolutely be a trap. He stared vigilantly at Yiqing Luo, not intending to reply. But Yiqing Luo wasn't affected at all. Her slender fingers stroked her chin as she continued with a smile. Princess Xia Zhu now is representing the royal family to forcefully snatch a man on the streets to make him her prince consort. Since young Master Huangfu agrees with Princess Xia Zhu so much, he must like being robbed. Why don't you become Princess Xia Zhu's son-in-law? One likes to rob others, and the other likes to be robbed. Isn't it perfect? Isn't it a perfect match? Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened. What prince consort? Don't spout nonsense. Who wants to be her husband? Gong Xia Zhu, who was standing by the side, upon hearing Yiqing Luo's words, his expression turned extremely gloomy. Now that she heard Huangfu Dongyu's rebuttal, her mood instantly exploded. I only have Brother Ming in my heart. No one else can be my son-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them glared at each other. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The two of you look rather compatible. Gong Xia Zhu knew that Yiqing Luo was intentionally sowing discord. But she couldn't avoid having some enmity towards Huangfu Dongyu. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands, as though she was joking, as she turned her head to look at Huangfu Sheng. Ah Sheng, when old master arrives, help me ask old master. The dignified Huangfu family and the royal family have the hobby of snatching people on the streets. Who did they learn it from? Chapter 43-57. His appearance. 1. Don't keep saying that you're robbing a commoner. Is that all you can say? Gong Xiaozhu's face turned red. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her eyes were filled with ridicule. I'm merely stating the truth. Since Princess Xia Zhu dares to do it, then you must be mentally prepared to be gossiped about, isn't that so? Gong Xiaozhu looked as though she had eaten a fly, and her expression was extremely ugly. The situation was getting out of control. Huangfu Fengyan immediately spoke out. Yiqing Luo, don't intentionally stand there and talk nonsense. Our Huangfu clan doesn't care what Princess Xia Zhu did. All I know is that I can't let an outsider like Pei Xing destroy our Huangfu clan. With Huangfu Fengyan's reminder, Huangfu Dongyu finally reacted and continued Huangfu Fengyan's words. That's right. I'm only here to stop Pei Xing. Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. She glanced at Huangfu Dongyu with disdain. You said it yourself. If Ah Xing helps me, he represents the Huangfu clan against the imperial family. If you help Princess Xia Zhu, doesn't that mean the Huangfu clan is helping Princess Xia Zhu? In other words, you're helping the wicked." After spitting out the last 4 words, Yiqing Luo leisurely said with a pause after every word, "As a person, you cannot have such double standards." Huangfu Dongyu subconsciously looked at Huangfu Fengyan. Both brother and sister's expressions became extremely ugly. Huangfu Fengyan pursed her lips tightly. She was very clear that it was impossible to reason with Yiqing Luo. Her eyes turned cold and her expression turned serious. "Big brother and I will only do things that are beneficial to the Huangfu family. As for the other consequences, I won't care about it for now." She threw a glance at Huangfu Dongyu. Huangfu Dongyu understood and ordered, "Stop Pei Xing from using the Huangfu clan's resources." "Yes." More than 30 Huangfu secret guards replied in unison. Then, he charged at Huangfu Sheng. The dozen people that Huangfu Sheng brought with him were all people that he had trained in the past month. Both sides fought fiercely. Huangfu Fengyan hid behind the crowd. A trace of disdain flashed across her eyes as she looked at Gong Xiazhu, whose face was ashen and twisted. However, when Gong Xiazhu looked over, Huangfu Fengyan's expression had already changed. "Princess Xiazhu, I'll leave the rest to you." Gong Xiazhu clenched her fists as a cold light flickered in her eyes. She gave a cold laugh as her gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. "Bring back this princess's son-in-law. Anyone who tries to stop me will be killed without mercy." Huangfu Sheng was entangled by Huangfu Dongyu's men. When the royal family's guards that Gong Xiazhu brought along attacked Yiqing Luo, the people that Huangfu Dongyu brought were even fiercer. Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi couldn't help her at all. In their hearts, although they believed that based on Yiqing Luo's intelligence, one Gong Xiazhu wasn't enough to be feared. But the current Yiqing Luo had no profound energy. They couldn't help but worry. Yiqing Luo didn't even budge an inch. Looking at the royal guards charging at him, he even laughed. Gong Xiazhu gave a cold laugh, pretending to be mysterious. "Do you think that you can still rely on your poison to save your life?" This princess had already made them take the antidote pill. No matter what kind of poison it is, it won't have any effect on them. "Aya." Yiqing Luo gave a shocked look as she cried out in shock. Immediately following that, she blinked her eyes. "How incredible, you even thought of using the antidote pill to deal with me." End of this chapter. Chapter 43-58. His appearance, too, her charming eyes were blinking. It accentuated the young lady's gorgeous face, innocent and pure. But those who knew the young lady in front of them were very clear. The young lady's true face under this mask. Gong Xiazhu's expression was gloomy. Looking at the young lady's expression, she had an ominous premonition. But looking at the young lady's mocking gaze and smile, her heart was filled with uncontrollable resentment. Gong Xiazhu's expression twisted. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. "Are you silly, forgetting so quickly? What about me? I have so many backers, do you think you can hurt me?" The young lady's arrogant words were filled with endless delight. As though she was provoking Gong Xiazhu. Profound waves flowed. In front of the young lady, a black figure appeared, blocking the Huang family's guard. After both sides' profound energy clashed, both sides retreated a little. That was Gu Residence's #1 secret guard, Gu Yi. Regarding Gu Yi, basically the entire Heaven Realm had heard of him. After all, he was Bone Lord's secret helper. It could be said that Bone Lord's secret matters were all done by Gu Yi. Gong Xiazhu knew that Yiqing Luo had Gu Residence's secret guards by her side. But she didn't expect a powerful figure like Gu Yi to actually follow beside a trash every day, to be a trash's guard. This was simply a waste of God's talent. "Gu Yi, are you sure that lady is the person that Gu Residence has acknowledged? You're so loyal to her, aren't you afraid that you'll follow the wrong person and betray Bone Lord?" Gong Xiazhu stared at Gu Yi, attempting to influence his thoughts. But unexpectedly, Gu Yi totally ignored her. Gu Yi's attention was focused on the Huang family's guard. The expression on his face was solemn and cold. "Eldest miss, do we need to increase the number of secret guards?" Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms as she spoke languidly. "These people are not your match. Just fight and kill. I'll take care of everything for you." "Yes." Gu Yi didn't waste any time as he agreed to Yi Qing Luo's command. Gong Xiazhu snorted coldly. "Just a small secret guard. Since you're looking for death, this princess doesn't need to care about Bone Lord's face." Her gaze turned and looked towards the outside of the crowd as her voice sounded unusually treacherous. "Young Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you." As soon as she finished speaking, a woman in a pale pink dress flew out from the crowd and landed in front of Gong Xiazhu. The woman had a young face and looked to be no more than 15 or 16 years old. But her figure was very hot and sexy. Her breasts were curvy, and her every movement was filled with the seductiveness and charm of a mature woman. The woman's facial features were exquisite and beautiful, but there was a vulgar charm in her eyes. It made people feel extremely uncomfortable. He didn't know why, but when he saw this woman, he felt a chill run down his spine. Yi Qing Luo felt a sense of familiarity. She had seen this woman before? No. If she had really seen him before, there was no way she wouldn't remember him. "Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you to deal with that slut." Gong Xiazhu's attitude towards that woman was very respectful. The woman smiled charmingly. The gaze he shot towards Yi Qing Luo was filled with cold murderous intent. Her fingers caressed her lips, overflowing with seductiveness. Swaying her willowy waist, she walked towards Yi Qing Luo in a flirtatious manner. The pale pink dress fluttered. It was obviously a pure and fairy-like look. But it had forcefully turned into a vulgar one. Just at this moment, a light and slow footsteps were heard. The footsteps were light and slow, but each step seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. His stomach hurt. He had promised to catch up on the last chapter today, but he couldn't do it anymore. Drag it for a day, catch up tomorrow. Meow meow meow. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-59. After all, she had changed her face. Very quickly, the lady walked in front of Yi Qing Luo. Her target was very clear. A pair of gaudy eyes stared straight at Yi Qing Luo. Immediately after, her red lips curled upwards, curling into a charming smile. Yi Qing Luo frowned as her eyes congealed. "Who are you?" Giggle giggle. The lady covered her red lips with her slender hand as she laughed. This smile was extremely charming. It didn't match with that young and elegant face. She hooked a lock of hair on her shoulder as she held it by the side of her lips. Her posture was extremely sexy. "Don't you recognize me so soon?" Her fingers slowly caressed her face as she laughed softly. "That's true. After all, I have changed my face." Yi Qing Luo's pupils shrunk. Her eyes were fixated on the lady in front of her. She finally knew why she felt that this lady was familiar. Bai Mei. This kind of natural charm and that kind of vulgar behavior. Other than Bai Mei, there was no one else. The last time in the Earth Realm, Bai Mei intentionally brought along a Xian's imposter to create havoc in the Earth Realm. It was obviously another face. Why did she change her face now? This Bai Mei had really gone mad. "Aya, thinking of me?" Bai Mei giggled. "It's rare that you still remember me. It really makes me happy." When she said the last sentence, Bai Mei's tone was obviously heavier as it was filled with venom. "This time round, what are you trying to do?" Seeing Bai Mei's appearance, Yi Qing Luo was almost certain that the secluded palace had really interfered in the heaven realm's matters. And now Bai Mei had found Gong Xiazhu. Apparently, it was because she knew of her existence. Then, what Ren Jianming said about the rankings was most probably true. Bai Mei slowly raised her hand. Her fair fingers curled slightly as it turned into a claw shape. "You who have lost your profound energy. How can you escape from my palm?" As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Her hand swiftly grabbed towards Yi Qing Luo. A ray of silver light flashed past Yi Qing Luo's eyes. The moment Bai Mei stretched out her fingers, a few thin steel needles emerged from her fingertips. The needle head was black. Poisonous steel needles. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as she speedily retreated backwards. Bai Mei gave a cold laugh, totally not worried that Yiqing Luo would be able to escape from her attack range. With a wave of his arm, he charged forward once more. Yiqing Luo, who had lost her profound energy naturally, couldn't be compared to Bai Mei, even with his well-practiced footwork. Without the help of profound energy, Yiqing Luo merely evaded a few steps. Once again, Bai Mei clung onto him. The woman's young and beautiful face was filled with a flirtatious smile. His smile was mixed with absolute killing intent. No one can save you. No one. Bai Mei's other hand clasped onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder. After locking him up, the hand with the steel needle pierced towards Yiqing Luo's head. Are you sure? Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed with a teasing glint as the corners of her lips curled into a cold arc. Bai Mei's heart trembled as an ominous premonition surged. Suddenly, the hand which was pressing on Yiqing Luo's shoulder seemed to be scorched by a blazing fire. She was in so much pain that she was sent flying by an invisible flame. Before Bai Mei could react in time, all of a sudden, another powerful pressure came pouring down from the sky. Bai Mei only felt a deafening buzzing sound beside her ears. Following that, her limbs and bones felt as though they were broken. The pain was indescribable. End of this chapter. Chapter 4360. His appearance. 3. A majestic and terrifying aura lingered in the air. The entire restaurant was blasted apart because of this. The majestic aura was like a surging tide, crashing against everything in the surroundings. The surrounding crowd were all stunned by this powerful energy. What energy is this? Who is it? Such a powerful aura, I can't breathe. The crowd's discussions were all transmitted into Bai Mei's ears. She could feel more clearly than anyone else just how powerful this powerful energy was. A mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth. Her internal organs felt as though they had been shattered. That slut still had a backup. She actually had a backer. Why was she so lucky? Why was it that every single time, there was someone who protected her? Bai Mei's heart was so jealous that it almost distorted. Everyone was extremely shocked, guessing who the owner of this energy was. Whereas Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes, as she slowly crossed her arms, the expression on her face was a little congealed. It's him? Why was he here? Could it be that it had something to do with the secluded palace? Her mind was filled with questions, hovering in her mind. She creased her slender brows slightly, as she raised her head and looked towards the direction of the profound wave. Even though she had lost her profound energy, towards that profound wave in the air, she could still feel it. Very familiar. She wasn't unfamiliar with it. Immediately following that, under everyone's gaze, a tall figure, as though stepping on the moon, appeared. The red flame brocade robe, the extremely cold imposing manner, formed an obvious contrast. But on this person, it didn't seem out of place at all. Following that figure walking out, a gush of terrifying aura floated in the air. The profound wave was misty. Everyone saw that. Extraordinarily handsome, but as though it was 1,000-years-old frost, unable to melt that face. The crowd drew in a breath of cold air, and some almost couldn't stand still. He is Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Heavens, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master appear here? Wait, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master make a move on the guest invited by Princess Xiaozhu? Could it be to save the first miss of the Gu residence? From the looks of it, the Pavilion Master of Hongqing Pavilion really seems to be protecting the first miss of the Gu clan. Everyone spoke one after another, their hearts filled with shock. He couldn't believe it. Rumor had it that the Pavilion Master of the Red Clear Pavilion had come from the God Realm, a mysterious power that could travel between the Earth Realm and the Heavenly Realm. While everyone was discussing the Hongqing Pavilion's Pavilion Master, Yi Qing Luo's half-squinted eyes retracted some of her expression. It was indeed him. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wuxin. The man was as cold as jade, looking at her expressionlessly. He met the young girl's gaze. He then walked straight towards the young girl. His actions caused everyone to hold their breaths. Seeing that the man was genuine, he walked straight towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. All of them almost jumped up from the ground. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was really trying to save the first miss of the Gu residence? What was the relationship between them? Why did this young miss of the Gu residence seem more and more sinister the more he looked at her? It seemed like ever since the first miss of the Gu residence appeared, all the people who wanted to find trouble with the Gu residence did not have a good ending? Could it be that this eldest miss of the Gu residence was actually hiding something deeply? The crowd's emotions were in turmoil. But the main character who shocked everyone, Zhu Wu Xian, didn't have any feelings. He slowly walked to the front of Yi Qing Luo and stood still. Long time no see. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-61. Yi Qing Luo met his gaze. Long time no see. Zhu Wu Xian's eyes were burning as he stared intently at her face. Why? What? Yi Qing Luo, who was asked this question out of the blue, was in a daze. Zhu Wu Xian's voice sounded a little desolate. Why didn't you look for me when you knew I was in the heaven realm? That handsome face was covered with a desolate expression. It made his cold and aloof temperament even more desolate. It made one not dare to get close to him. But one couldn't help but feel heartache. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. Why should I look for you? Previously in the earth realm, Zhu Wu Xian had indeed said that he was going to the heaven realm to settle some matters when he bid her farewell. She had indeed never thought of looking for him when she reached the heaven realm. After all, towards Zhu Wu Xian, she didn't know what kind of attitude she should use to face him. Zhu Wu Xian's obsession towards her, or rather this body of hers, was too deep. She wasn't willing to have too much involvement with Zhu Wu Xian. Moreover, Dmo Xian wasn't in the heaven realm now. She was even more unwilling to have too much interaction with Zhu Wu Xian. Otherwise, if Dmo Xian found out, wouldn't he turn the vinegar jar upside down? You're still so cold towards me. Zhu Wu Xian laughed softly. His thin lips curled into a frivolous arc, filled with bitterness. Yi Qing Luo remained unmoved. It's good that you know. But I still want to get close to you. Zhu Wu Xian smiled again. Yi Qing Luo. She really wasn't used to Zhu Wu Xian's type of man suddenly saying sweet nothings. It made her feel uncomfortable all over. She rubbed her arms and stopped reminiscing with Zhu Wu Xian. Her gaze shifted from Zhu Wu Xian to Bai Mei, who was being supported by Gong Xia Zhu and Yuing. She raised her slender brows as her lips curled into a smile, yet not a smile. That time I asked you if your trip to the heaven realm was related to the secluded palace, you had nothing to say. Now. Yi Qing Luo's finger pointed at Bai Mei. You're together. Zhu Wu Xian's gaze was deep. If I'm together with them, I wouldn't have saved you. Do I look like someone who needs saving? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. For someone as smart as you, how could you possibly not tell that I'm setting a trap for Bai Mei? She slowly retracted her hand that was pointing at Bai Mei. Her fair and slender fingers gently touched her chin. The mockery and ridicule in her eyes intensified. Are you really helping me by making a move? Zhu Wu Xian's cold eyes seemed to be shaken by something. There were some slight changes. But very quickly, he was still as cold and indifferent as before. His gaze, which was locked onto Yi Qing Luo, was like a 10,000-year-old cold lake. In your heart, is this how you think of me? Yes. Yi Qing Luo replied decisively. I don't dare to say, I understand you. But, based on my understanding of you in the past, I don't think my deduction is wrong. The situation at that time. Even Bai Mei felt it and wanted to get out of her range. Not to mention that Zhu Wuxin did not know, had she already drugged Bai Mei? Even if Zhu Wuxin did not make a move, Bai Mei would never be able to hurt her. Thus, Zhu Wuxin's action at that time was clearly to save Bai Mei. Zhu Wuxian's expression congealed for a moment before he opened his mouth coldly. In that case, I should thank you for understanding me so well. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. There's no need to thank me. I just want to ask you a question. Chapter 43-62. No relation whatsoever. Zhu Wuxin looked at her in silence. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. You're here. Are you trying to stop this pointless battle, or are you trying to help Bai Mei to deal with me? Since you understand me so well, why not? Guess what I'm thinking? Zhu Wuxian suddenly leaned forward and magnified his own face right into Yi Qing Luo's pupils. Yi Qing Luo looked at him indifferently. I'm guessing, both. And Zhu Wuxin's action. The surrounding people unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. When he saw the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion take the initiative to speak to the first young miss of the Gu clan, he felt a chill run down his spine. The young miss of the Gu estate clearly did not have a good attitude towards the pavilion master of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion. But the master of the Red Clear Pavilion laughed again and again. Yes, he smiled. Anyone who had heard the rumors about the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master would know. The pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion was a cold and heartless man. People called him a person without a soul. He was always expressionless. Forever cold and indifferent. His entire body exuded a cold aura. But, however, when the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion faced the young lady of the Gu clan, he revealed a smile. Although small is very shallow. It was almost too faint to be seen. But he did smile. Now, the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion had even taken the initiative to get close to the young miss of the Gu residence. Wasn't this telling everyone? This first young miss of the Gu residence was a subordinate of his Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Everyone became more and more shocked and probed into the young miss of the Gu clan. With the Bone residence as her backing, Lord Bone Lord was her backing. The second young master of the Ren family was obsessed with her and adored her. He also had a close relationship with the young master of the Huangfu family. And now, even the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion had arrived. Just what was the identity of the first miss of the Gu residence? Everyone was rejoicing that they did not choose a side and make life difficult for the first miss of the Gu residence. There were also many people who looked at Gong Xiazhu sympathetically. Gong Xiazhu was so angry that her face was distorted, and the jealousy in her eyes burned continuously. She clenched her hands into fists and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Whereas for Yi Qing Luo, who was leaning close to Zhu Wuxian, wasn't the least bit shocked. He had no intention of retreating. Just like that, he smiled and met Zhu Wuxin's eyes. The distance between them was so close that they could almost feel each other's breath. Both of them were wearing fiery red robes. One was cold and aloof. One was bewitching and arrogant. They stood so close to each other. It was as beautiful as a painting. Everyone came to a realization. This first young miss of the Bone Palace, who did not have any profound strength and was called trash, was not inferior in the slightest when she stood beside the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion. He wasn't suppressed by the cold aura of the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master at all. How could someone with such an aura be an ordinary person? The crowd discussed in hushed voices, as well as astonishment towards Yi Qing Luo's guess. Their tones were filled with unconcealable respect. This caused Gong Xiazhu's face to become even more distorted. After enduring for a long time, she finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Pavilion Master, what's the relationship between you two? Yu Ying, who was supporting Bai Mei, did not manage to grab her princess in time. Gong Xiazhu rushed forward a few steps, his eyes filled with anger. Pavilion Master, that woman is a promiscuous woman. She can't stand the loneliness at all and goes around flirting. Even this princess's fiancé has fallen under her skirt. You must not be deceived by her. The woman screamed hysterically. This caused the two of them to pull apart some distance. Zhu Wu Xian shot a glance at Gong Xiazhu as he spoke calmly. Yi Qing Luo, tell me, what's the relationship between us? Relationship? Yi Qing Luo's mischievous gaze swept past Gong Xiazhu, and looked at Zhu Wu Xian with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Update complete. Moi, there's still the last chapter to update, to be delivered later. End of this chapter. Chapter 4363. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. N. Zhu Wu Xian seemed as though he knew that Yi Qing Luo would reply in this way. There wasn't a single bit of unhappiness on his face. On the contrary, his thin lips curled up again, and this time the arc was very obvious. It shocked the surrounding crowd. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master really smiled. But what made everyone's jaws drop onto the ground was, after Zhu Wu Xian smiled, he used a deep husky, which could be said to be an extremely gentle voice as he spoke. To you, I have nothing to do with you. But to me, you are the lady whom I want to woo. The surroundings were filled with the sounds of people drawing in cold air. The crowd simply couldn't believe their own ears. They were absolutely dreaming, absolutely hallucinating. In the rumors, the mysterious and cold Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master was always unsmiling, and his pair of eyes could freeze one to death. But now, not only was he smiling at a lady, he even spoke words of love. There were quite a number of ladies present who clasped their hands together as hearts popped out from their eyes. My legs are going soft. This is just too tempting. So the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master isn't too cold, but the only person he wants to warm is eldest young miss of the Gu residence. He's cold and stern to everyone, but only towards Gu residence's eldest young miss. He treats her gently. This is all the ladies' dream. The crowd felt that they had been shocked. All of them used envious gazes as they looked at Yi Qing Luo. These words, when landed in different people's ears, had different feelings. Gong Xiazhu and Bai Mei were about to explode from anger. Their faces turned pale as their entire body started to tremble slightly. Their tightly pursed red lips were almost bitten till blood came out. The flames of jealousy were burning in their hearts, almost burning their rationality. Their venomous gazes were scorching hot. Yi Qing Luo naturally felt it. She raised her slender brows slightly as her long and narrow eyes squinted. The smile on her lips was filled with ridicule. Young Master Zhu's words are very moving, but you've used the wrong target. She only gave a slight smile. But in her half-squinted eyes, there was a chill that made one's heart tremble. Pavilion Master. In the end, Bai Mei could not bear it any longer. She shrieked, "Don't forget why you're here today." Bai Mei felt the most resentful. His internal organs were injured by Zhu Wuxin without any explanation. If it wasn't for her strong willpower and the fact that there was something in her body protecting her, he was afraid that he would lose his life now. But when it came to Zhu Wuxin, she still couldn't question him, couldn't seek justice for the injuries she had suffered. Because the other party was the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Even if she died, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness would not say anything for her. He was such an outstanding and honorable man. He was also Yi Qing Luo, that slut servant. That was how venerable sovereigns were. The pavilion master was the same. What's so good about that bitch? Bai Mei's face was contorted with rage. But, the moment the man's eyes met her eyes, Ji Yunshu's expression froze. It was as if 10,000 years of frost had directly covered her body. She felt a chill run down her spine. All the rage, in the blink of an eye, they were all extinguished. She felt as though she was immersed in frost, shivering non-stop. Do you have the right to speak when I'm doing things? Zhu Wuxin's cold voice was filled with endless chill. Bai Mei shivered as she lowered her head, not daring to say another word. The surrounding crowd understood what was going on. This eldest young miss of the Gu residence was someone whom none of them could touch. Chapter 43-64. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was a person who placed the young miss of the Gu clan in the center of his heart and doted on her. It seemed that when it came to choosing sides in the future, they already had a candidate in mind. Chi, a chuckle broke the heavy atmosphere. The girl's eyes were filled with disdain as a cold glint flashed across her lips. Since young Master Chu is here on a mission, let's not waste each other's time. I am in a hurry to catch up with a friend that I haven't seen for a long time. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Zhu Wuxin replied with a calm expression. Then, he walked upstairs, minding his own business. It is indeed time for us to catch up. Yi Qing Luo, long time no see. This guy's skin was quite thick. He clearly knew that the person she wanted to reminisce with wasn't him. But he did it on purpose. He substituted himself. Was she supposed to cooperate? Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes. He turned around and walked out of the ruined restaurant. He passed by the innkeeper of the restaurant who wanted to cry but did not dare to say anything. She raised her eyebrows. She thought of how the waiter had hurried over to tell her that Renjiaming had been stopped. She stopped in her tracks, raised her hand and patted the innkeeper's shoulder. Princess Xia Zhu will bear all the losses of the restaurant today. Also, Princess Xia Zhu will also be responsible for the losses caused by the restaurant not being able to operate in the near future. The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Don't be afraid, she will be willing to take responsibility. Saying that, Yi Qing Luo left directly. Huangfu Sheng, Gu Zixi, and Ren Jianming, who were standing behind him, were still dumbfounded. He watched as Yi Qing Luo left. The three of them then regained their senses as they hurriedly brought their men and followed after Yi Qing Luo. Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave? Seeing this, Bai Mei snapped and ordered the guards beside her, stop them. Stop them. However, whether it was the Huangfu secret guards or the imperial guards, all of them stood on the spot and looked at each other. No one dared to move a single step. What a joke. The pavilion master had already made his stance clear. He wanted to protect the first miss of the Gu estate. If they rashly touched young miss, the master of the Red Clear Pavilion would kill them. Who would dare to touch the young miss of the Gu estate? Bai Mei shouted several times, but there was no response. She was so angry that her face turned red. She was both angry and embarrassed. Even Gong Xia Zhu, on seeing Ren Jianming leaving with Yi Qing Luo, didn't dare to go up and snatch it back forcefully. However, everyone was truly impressed. The first miss of the Gu estate actually dared to completely ignore the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion and leave by herself. If this happened to the emperor or the four great families' patriarchs, even they wouldn't dare to do this. In this world, only the first miss of the Gu clan would be so daring. At this moment, Zhu Wuxin, who was walking towards the second floor of the restaurant, stopped. He looked at the backs of Yi Qing Luo and the rest who were already far away. His cold and deep eyes were devoid of any emotion. Gong Xiazhu clenched his fists tightly and snorted coldly in a low voice, that bitch really thinks she's so great. Does she think she can do whatever she wants with Bone Lord support? Pavilion Master is much more honorable than Bone Sovereign. Bai Mei did not respond. She stared intently at Yi Qing Luo's departing back. That young and elegant face, under the malevolence, actually surfaced several layers of wrinkles. As though a piece of human skin was about to peel off from her face. Gong Xiazhu didn't know. But she was very clear. Towards Yi Qing Luo, Chu Wu Xian was simply infatuated with her. Chapter 43-65. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Even if Yi Qing Luo threw his face in front of everyone, Zhu Wu Xian wouldn't blame her at all. The more Bai Mei thought about it, the more indignant she felt. As expected, Zhu Wu Xian stared at Yi Qing Luo's back view for several breaths. It was as if he was certain that the other party would not turn around. Without any hesitation, he lifted his foot and followed behind. Just as he reached the door, Zhu Wu Xian seemed to have thought of something as he took a look at Yi Qing Luo and then glanced sideways at Bai Mei. Earlier, did you hear what Yi Qing Luo said clearly? The restaurant's losses will be compensated. Saying that, he had already followed behind Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei, he was so angry that he wanted to explode. He actually remembered clearly what Yi Qing Luo had casually said earlier, and even put it into action. Gong Xia Zhu originally heard Yi Qing Luo and the shopkeeper saying that she would be responsible for the losses, but she treated it as a joke. The last time at 100 Medicine House, she was cheated by Yi Qing Luo of more than half of her assets. And now he wanted her to take responsibility for this lousy restaurant? However, Bai Mei seemed to have seen through her thoughts. She sneered and tilted her head to look at her. Didn't you hear what the pavilion master said? Are you sure you want to defy Lord Pavilion Master's orders? All the fluctuations in Gong Xiaozhu's heart stopped at this moment. She bit her lips tightly and only managed to squeeze out 2 words after a long while, I don't dare. Huangfu Fengyan and Huangfu Dongyu's expressions were also extremely ugly because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Until the figures of those people disappeared completely. Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened as he looked at Bai Mei. What's going on? Why is the pavilion master here? They had arranged everything. It was to take advantage of the moment when Yi Qing Luo lost her profound energy. Kill Yi Qing Luo. On top of that, he wanted Pei Xing to leave the Huangfu family. Why did it come to a critical moment? Just like that, a Lord Pavilion Master popped up. This was like a duck that was about to be eaten was suddenly snatched away by a tiger. Why are you getting mad at me? If you have the ability, ask the Pavilion Master's people. Bai Mei sneered coldly. Huangfu Dongyu still wanted to say something. However, Huangfu Fengyan stopped her. Bai Mei's face contorted, and her eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Heh bitch, I will definitely make her suffer a fate worse than death. As she gritted her teeth, his expression became even more ferocious. Suddenly, Gong Xiaozhu's eyes widened and she looked at Bai Mei in fright. Miss Bai, your face. Bai Mei's ferocious expression froze on her face. He subconsciously reached out to touch his face. What's wrong with my face? The Huangfu siblings also looked over when they heard the exclamation. When he saw Bai Mei's face, both of them sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated. Gong Xiaozhu was also shocked. She took 2 steps back and stared at her in shock. Your face, look at it yourself. In a flurry, she took out a small bronze mirror from Yu Ying's bosom. With a trembling hand, he tossed it into Bai Mei's hand. What Bai Mei cared about the most was her face. He immediately raised the bronze mirror. In the bronze mirror, wrinkles appeared on the woman's face. More than half of it fell off from her face, revealing the purplish-black flesh underneath. Pieces fell off here and there, wrinkles. It made her look extremely terrifying. Bai Mei suddenly burst out with a terrified scream. She smashed the bronze mirror onto the ground and covered her face, screaming as she turned around and fled the scene. These mournful cries, even though they were very far away, Yi Qing Luo and the others could hear it. Gu Zixi looked towards the direction of the voice in puzzlement. What's the matter with that Bai Mei? How can she get high on her own? Chapter 43-66. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into an ambiguous smile. Ren Jianming limped as he walked by the side. Seeing the young lady's brows overflowing with craftiness, surely it's not you who did it? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips were sweet like a fox's as her coquettish eyes squinted slightly as she said word by word, I merely gave her a small present, treated as Bai Mei's return gift to her. When the few of them saw Yi Qing Luo's smile, they couldn't help but shivered. One by one, they rubbed their arms, obviously knowing that Yi Qing Luo was a female devil. Bai Mei still dared to provoke her. Her courage was really commendable. Let's observe a moment of silence for her. The few of them were chatting happily. However, no one paid any attention to Zhu Wuxin, who had been following behind them in silence the whole time. Even though he didn't say a single word. But the imposing manner which he was emitting made one unable to ignore his existence. The chilly air spread in the air. In between breaths, even the air seemed to have been condensed into frost. Gu Zixi would turn her head around from time to time to look at Zhu Wuxian. This frequent action. This made Huangfu Xing a little unhappy. Just as Gu Zixi turned her head around once again to look at Zhu Wuxian. Huangfu Xing's large palm was placed on Gu Zixi head. He cupped her face with his other hand. He turned her gaze to him. Gu Zixi blinked her eyes as she looked at Huangfu Xing, whose expression wasn't too good, and couldn't help but smiled as her arms hooked around his neck. "Aya, you obviously know. I just wanted to see how long he was going to follow me for." Huangfu Xing's expression was still not too good. "You're not allowed to look at other men for so long." Alright, I'll only look at Xing alone." Gu Zixi leaned forward and planted a light kiss on his cheek. Huangfu Xing's expression then turned slightly better. But Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, expressed that her expression wasn't too good. She hadn't contacted Xian for a long time. Now she didn't even know where Xian was. The two of them were actually openly showing off their love. Had she considered the feelings of her missing her husband so much that she fell ill? This baby also had emotions. Yiqing Luo's offensive gaze. He successfully stopped the two from showing off their affection. Gu Zixi cast a sneaky glance behind her and giggled as she moved closer to Yiqing Luo. "Don't be angry, even if there's no overlord, isn't there? There's still an outstanding man waiting for you." Yiqing Luo pinched her waist. "When Xing goes out to handle some matters, I'll help you choose a few outstanding men. How about that?" Gu Zixi smiled apologetically. Okay, I was wrong. Don't let Xing hear this. It's too late, he has already heard it." Yiqing Luo lifted her chin, indicating her to look behind her. He turned his head. She saw Huangfu Xing, whom she had finally appeased, had a gloomy expression again. Gu Zixi wanted to cry. "If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been the cheapest." Looking at Gu Zixi coaxing her own man, Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with gentleness. Ren Jianming limped over to Yiqing Luo and spat out a sentence, "Eldest miss." Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past his face. He opened his eyes again. Where was Yiqing Luo's figure? Ren Jianming's face turned pale. He was about to call out to Huangfu Xing. But his eyes looked at the other side. Zhu Wuxian held Yiqing Luo's wrist as the both of them stood there. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 43-67. It wasn't far. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly. The emotions between her brows were very faint. Her gaze fell onto the man's wrist, which was clasped on her. "Let go of me. Do you hate me that much?" Zhu Wuxin's voice was a little bitter. He didn't loosen his grip, and Yiqing Luo could only struggle out of his grip while replying, "To tell the truth, I don't hate you." She rubbed her wrist and took a step back, putting some distance between them. Then, she raised her head and looked at him. "Why are you following me?" "I missed you." Zhu Wuxin's ability to say sweet nothings had already been activated. He used this expressionless face to say sweet nothings, but it did not feel out of place at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with foolishness. Did Master Chu think that I didn't hear what Bai Mei said earlier? The relationship between Chu Wuxin and Gloomy Palace. Yiqing Luo didn't intend to investigate further. No matter how he asked. Since Zhu Wuxian was unwilling to say it, there was nothing she could do. The only thing he could be sure of was, Zhu Wuxin was in the heaven realm because of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. The reason why Chu Wuxin had appeared was also because of the Gloomy Palace. Thinking of this, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips became even more ridiculing. To tell the truth, I am also very curious. What is the motive of Bai Mei reminding you not to forget? You want to know? Zhu Wuxin chuckled softly. There was a black mist in his eyes. There was a strange coldness in his deep and cold eyes. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased slightly. Will you say it? As long as you come with me, I can tell you everything you want to know. Chu Wuxin's thin lips curled up. His expression was ice cold, but his tone was extremely serious. Yi Qing Luo's heart sunk slightly as she subconsciously took a step back, as her eyes looked at Zhu Wu Xian vigilantly. That vigilant look. It stung Zhu Wu Xian's eyes. He couldn't help but laugh, his eyes full of bitterness. Did I completely lose your trust after one mistake? Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips and didn't say anything. However, the wariness between his brows did not relax because of this. Chu Wu Xian gazed deeply at Yi Qing Luo's face. The rumbling black fog in his eyes became thicker and thicker. He was almost drowned in the darkness. After a long while, the look in his eyes changed slightly. His thin lips moved slightly, and he said very seriously, I said, I will never do anything to hurt you. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips pursed even tighter. She really couldn't figure out Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her was very deep. It had already exceeded the scope of a normal person. Yi Qingzhen couldn't imagine what kind of things a person who had gone crazy because of obsession would do. Especially those who were connected to the Dark Nether Palace. Chu Wu Xian didn't wait for Yi Qing Luo's reply. What he said didn't make Yi Qing Luo relax. His eyes darkened and his voice lowered. It's been a long time since we last met. Let's catch up. What do you want to say? Yi Qing Luo asked. Let's find a place and have a drink. Chu Wuxin did not give a direct answer. Yi Qing Luo took a look at Zhu Wu Xian and looked at the three people who were gathered not too far away, looking at her worriedly. She pondered for a moment before answering, okay. Gu residence, Yi Qing Luo's courtyard. Guyan carefully served up the wine flask as she listened to Yi Qing Luo's orders and retreated. The surrounding, Yi Qing Luo had already asked everyone to leave. Guyan just walked out from the courtyard. Chapter 43-68. Guyan shook her head. Everyone's faces fell. Although the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord's attitude towards Yi Qing Luo seemed much gentler than the others. However, he was a cold-blooded and merciless person who killed without batting an eyelid. If Yi Qing Luo's words made the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord unhappy? What if the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master made a move on Yi Qing Luo? After all, Yi Qing Luo had no profound energy. Thinking of this, Ren Jianming could not stand still. No, I have to go in and take a look. Who knows if the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master will go berserk and make a move on our young miss. With that, he was about to rush into the courtyard. Huang Fuxing hurriedly pulled him back. Luo must have something to say to him if he agreed to talk to him alone. Don't mess things up here. What do you mean by causing trouble? I'm worried about young mistress. Ren Jianming complained. Huang Fuxing suddenly stared at Ren Jianming, sizing him up as if he wanted to see through Ren Jianming. That blatant gaze. Ren Jianming clutched his chest uncomfortably. What do you want to do? Huang Fuxing narrowed his eyes. Luo said that, you told the public that she is your fiancée and that you've been pestering her. It's all an act. But, why do I feel like you've really fallen for Luo? Ren Jianming's heart skipped a beat. He opened his mouth to deny it. But when the words reached his mouth, the girl's confident and flamboyant smile appeared in his mind. He couldn't bring himself to deny it. Gu Zixi moved her little head over and looked Ren Jianming up and down. She raised her index finger and shook it. You better not fall in love with Luo. She already has a husband. If you really fall in love with her, you'll get hurt. Husband. Husband? When Ren Jianming heard these two words, he was startled. Gu Zixi's beautiful eyes widened, yes, our Aluo has a peerless husband, and their relationship is very good. Don't tell me, you really fell in love with Aluo? Unparalleled in the world, their relationship was very good. Gu Zixi words made Ren Jianming's heart feel like it had been punched hard by something. It made him feel suffocated. Why, when he heard that Yiqing Luo had a husband? Why was his heart so sad? Could it be that he really? This thought made Ren Jianming shudder. He hurriedly shook his head. Although there were many scars on his handsome face, an exaggerated laugh appeared. I pestered her because I wanted her to promise me something. Ha ha ha, she's so violent, how could I fall for her? As he spoke, he let out an exaggerated laugh. Then, as if to change the topic, he asked curiously, is Mrs. name Aluo? Is your relationship with First Miss very good? Yiqing Luo had been in the heaven realm for this period of time. Everyone knew about the first young miss of the Bone clan. But he had never heard Yiqing Luo mention her real name. That's right. Not only do we have a good relationship with Luo, but we also know a lot about him. Gu Zixi indeed didn't pursue further about his feelings towards Yiqing Luo as he followed along with Ren Jianming's topic. In the courtyard, Yiqing Luo pushed the wine pot in front of Zhu Wu Xian as she tilted her head and looked at him. Now it's quiet, what do you want to say? Say it directly. Zhu Wu Xian poured himself a cup of wine and downed it in one gulp. His indifferent face had no trace of emotion. Chapter 43-69. Accompany me for a drink or two. The man's deep voice was cold, but not knowing why, she could hear a few hints of pleading in it. Yiqing Luo. This fellow was getting worse and worse at disguising himself in front of her. Words of love came one after another. Even the ability to act pitiful had already been activated. To tell the truth, towards other men other than Xian, she wouldn't have much feelings towards any handsome man or bitter love scheme. But looking at Zhu Wu Xian's contrast. Moreover, towards Zhu Wu Xian, she really couldn't be considered as loathing or hatred. So she didn't really reject him. She picked up another jug of wine and poured a cup. She didn't even touch glasses with Zhu Wu Xian as she directly drank a cup of wine. Then she put down the wine cup and looked at Zhu Wu Xian. I've finished the wine, speak. Zhu Wu Xian's fingers which were holding the wine cup tightened slightly. His fingertips were strangely white. Between his pupils, there was a thick black mist, shrouding all his emotions. Just like that, he looked at Yiqing Luo quietly. Between his brows, there was a sense of self-ridicule. Yiqing Luo, who was stared at by this gaze, rubbed her arms as she angrily retorted, what are you looking at? If you don't talk about proper matters, I'm going to chase you away. Looking at you. Another sudden words of love. Still expressionless emotions. Looking at that face. Yiqing Luo was suspecting if she had heard wrongly. But immediately following that, she heard him continuing, you won't chase me away. Incredible Zhu Wu Xian. She indeed wouldn't chase him away. After all, she couldn't beat Zhu Wu Xian now. If Zhu Wu Xian wasn't willing to leave, what could she use to chase him away? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, not willing to listen to Zhu Wu Xian's words of love. Yes, I can't chase you away, but I can leave. Saying that, she stood up and turned around as she walked towards the inner courtyard. She hadn't even taken 2 steps. A man's low voice was heard from behind. Bai Mei came to Heaven Realm, Anne. The reason why you came to Heaven Realm, don't you want to know? This sentence successfully stopped Yiqing Luo from taking another step. She returned to the stone table and sat down, placing one hand on the stone table as she asked him, what reason? Let's drink. Zhu Wuxin shook his wine cup. Yiqing Luo. She'd better leave. However, just as he was about to leave, the man continued, the Huangfu clan clearly knows your true identity, yet they allow Bai Mei to mess around with the imperial family. They don't expose your identity as the young miss of the Gu clan. Aren't you curious about the reason behind this? Yiqing Luo, Was Chu Wuxin doing this on purpose? Seeing that she still hadn't turned around, Zhu Wuxin unleashed his ultimate move. Even though they know that Di Zun won't let the Huangfu clan off, the Huangfu siblings still insist on killing you. Aren't you curious why? Yi Qing Luo, fine. You win. Yi Qing Luo lifted her skirt and sat back down heavily. He grabbed a bottle of wine and slammed it on the table. How do you want to drink? I'll keep you company to the end. Zhu Wu Xian seemed as though he couldn't detect the anger in Yi Qing Luo's words as his cold gaze stared at Yi Qing Luo's face. Let's ask each other questions. If you can't answer, then drink. How about that? Truth or dare? Yi Qing Luo blurted out. Zhu Wu Xian didn't understand the meaning of Yi Qing Luo's words, but he understood the first 3 words. His thin lips curled upwards as he replied seriously and solemnly, yes, it must be the truth. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose. All right. Sure. She could take the opportunity to ask him a lot of things which she had long wanted to know. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.